What is going on, Space Mob? Welcome back to another episode of the AST Space Odyssey podcast. Very happy to have you here, as always. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and following us on all podcast, YouTube platform, X at AST Space Odyssey. Very happy to keep pumping these out. And today is just kind of a celebration episode. I mean, AST has worked its way up from 22 to the mid 40s, hitting all time high nearly every day the past week. So it's time we just dive into this and kind of explain why it's hitting these all-time high, kind of what's next for the company and the stock price. I mean, it just kind of shows you that over time that buying the dip here does work. When it's in the low 20s, that it fell to like over and over this year, those were just great opportunities for people like myself who, when most of Space Mob, who doesn't feel that they have enough. It just gives you a good chance to be able to add at a reasonable price. And even though the stock is a bit higher now, I think it's still worth adding, especially while it's under even $100, because this thing's just going to take over. And I think we understand that. And if you bought the dip, congrats. Because as we've seen, when times get tough or stagnant for AST, they keep the progress coming. The team keeps executing, and eventually the stock price will catch up. Sometimes it's not seem like that when they announce these, like when they announced this the testing with video calls and the Ligado transaction to start. The stock got some good action, but it never really was able to like break and hold over 30. So with all that and like the shorts that were piling on, all it needed was just a little more of a push, and now it's pumping up and it just kind of keep going. And I think it's well deserved and something that patience does pay off for. So today, the last couple weeks have been insane, very rewarding for us long-term holders. Not that any of us are even thinking of selling, it's just rewarding to see kind of the stock price catch up to where we think it should be. And obviously, we're super bullish. We do think it should be worth more, but slow steps at a time. We can't just rock it up because then you risk losing it all. So it is good to just kind of see it hopefully stay over 40 here and consolidate. And what's next is going to be amazing. We have some great months planned out here. And to start, kind of the first thing that really did send it spiking higher, because the market was a little weaker on some the war news with Iran and such. But then we signed a new M&O partnership with Vodafone Idea, and this unlocks almost over 200 million users in India and kind of opens up, like they said in the article, access and more possibilities to target that 1.1 billion user empire in India of mobile users. And that just kind of goes to show you that this partnership with Vodafone is very good, because like the partnering companies of Vodafone, like in this case, want to work with us because we're going to be providing the best service anywhere. And like they already have skin in the game and investments, so it helps the ecosystem all around. And when they have access to this many subscribers and like partnering MNOs, those MNOs want to sign with us. So having this unlocks 200 million users. And if you just think about that and like how little of those people can subscribe and pay in India, like the service will probably be $1 to $4 a month, maybe even less. But like when you look at this on a scale like that and monthly recurring revenue, the yearly revenue just shoots up. And within India, there are a lot of places that aren't connected. There's a lot of mountains. There's a lot of places where they can't put the infrastructure. So people want to be reliable and connected everywhere they go. And like the massive growth opportunity here, because they have so many people in India, and this is gonna like kind of open eyes to other kind of these less developed countries, or where there are less developed areas. They're gonna say, "Oh, India is partnering with this company to be connected everywhere. What can we do to make steps for this?" Because the big telephone companies aren't gonna be putting up, because like $1 million towers in these places where they're not going to make much of a return on investment. And that's kind of how you got to think of it, because to build like a giant cell tower here in Texas where there's millions of people around it is going to cost the same to go build in India in a mountain town. So like the return on investment just isn't there. So having AST be everywhere in the sky kind of opens this up to these smaller players in these areas that don't have the funds to build these towers to be like, okay, let's hop right in here. Let's get this cell phone service from anywhere in the sky. Yes, they will be probably paying more, but as you look at it on the scale, it just really opens up a potential for revenue. And I do love when we kind of do expand to these other countries because, like, a lot of these countries, like Apple, and not even Apple, but like just a lot of countries overall, when you look at the earnings and stuff, a lot of the revenue comes from the US. But just seeing the way AST has been like establishing their global footprint is just massive to see. And I think as every footprint is going to lead to more opportunities. And it's like kind of showing the world that we are an American company, but we will operate and help anywhere we can because our satellites will be across the whole globe. So it really unlocks the global footprint here and opens up just a wave of opportunity from these less developed countries because at the end of the day, what I really like about this move and what I like about AST is doing is that overall it's just good for humanity. Like expanding coverage to these regions where they've never had access to online. Like now some kid that lives in like the mountains of India, if their town has a cell phone, he can go online, he can learn other languages, he can learn social media marketing, he can set up an e-commerce store, he can learn, he can sell stuff, he can like get out and get those opportunities. They can learn to code, do some freelancing, and like all that power is just unlocked from your phone and having access to the internet when before they probably didn't even know what the internet is in some cases. So it does kind of feel good when we do expand to these places because like at the end of the day, what Abel and the team is doing, it's good for humanity. People deserve to be connected and have the same opportunity and playing field kind of everywhere they are in the world. And this is kind of setting that field more flat. And I think it's just going to make opportunities for these less fortunate individuals. So I think that with signing with this, it just shows you like the team is still executing. And on top of all the other like kind of catalysts and news we've had recently, just like this is like the icing on top. Like bam, another MNO. We're still grinding. These are going to keep coming in as we get these launches up. The MNOs will keep diving in. So that, and then like the recent news we kind of covered briefly, just like what kind of started this rally to start with was like Jeff Bezos and a bell. Congratulations for what? We don't know. But it started like this little surge here. It added credibility to the company because you're seeing one of the top CEOs ever be congratulated next to ours when we already have plans for them to launch like 40 of our satellites. So it just shows like this partnership is growing. And then that paired with kind of like the Elon and Trump fallout and just kind of seeing like Elon kind of threatened to take away his contracts and Trump do it likewise. And it's like once there's a Golden Dome app, like Trump can't or Elon can't be going on Twitter and being like, "Yeah, but we're decommissioning this," because that's prone to bad things, as you can guess. And the Department of Defense doesn't want someone that's unstable like that because like when it comes to war and spending billions of dollars, they don't want someone to be able to flick that off with a switch. They want to pay someone for reliable service that no matter what will stay on. And a lot of the people that did go short from the election when Trump and Musk were buddy buddy have now kind of realized, oh, they might not get every contract, and we might see that the Department of Defense is shifting to alternative investments. And we've seen articles like this, like a Department of Defense, like insiders, they're no longer considering Starlink for Golden Dome. They're looking at alternatives for programs. And I think that just helps be like, okay, what's the next closest thing to SpaceX and Starlink right now? And what they're doing with connecting people with dishes everywhere. And when you do look, it's AST, and we have these biggest satellites ever. So our tech will be able to kind of provide what they want at a better scale, and they're already testing AST using these wide arrays for such things they will need in the Golden Dome, and that's directly what our management had said here. So also all that paired with AST joining the Russell 1000, we kind of speculated it coming, but I think this is just another thing that like concretes this as a good investment opportunity. Because before, you're a big hedge fund, you see this company, you go on Twitter, they pretty much have a cult. You see people throwing out $1,000 price targets. You check their revenue. You're like, this company. If you don't really look into it, you're like, oh, this company has been public for 5 years and they're at like a few $1 million revenue, and that's like probably off of merch and like a little bit of the government contracts. But as we see, that's opening up at the end of the year, which I think that also helps kind of establish us more. Is the last guidance on the earnings, people did see, oh, we are just like transitioning from a pre-revenue company to a company that is making guidance and is going to be pulling in money. So being included in this, it just brings institutional attention, and it will lead to like funds buying this for rebalancing um, and just kind of make this stock look more legit. It'll boost volume and demand because people will no longer kind of look at this as the speculative stock. They will look at it as, oh, the stock that can't make or the company that can't really make a ton of revenue right now because we don't have all of our satellites up. But with the partnerships in place and with the government wanting in on this technology, like the future is there. And we've seen this story with other stocks, Palantir, Tesla, before their sales were big, and like even right now, like with Palantir, the stock boomed higher because people are seeing kind of where this will be in the future. And I think it's like Tesla, how it got kind of labeled like this robotics, AI, and car company, and reached a trillion valuation when their sales are still great, but they were never like revolutionary profits. And it's just because people are speculating what this tech can be used for. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing right now with the stock, is that people are kind of realizing, and funds are looking into this and kind of seeing like the revaluation live right now of the stock that's been pinned down in the low 20s is now kind of being more seen for what it's worth. And all the Space Mob will tell you this has been a $50 stock since last summer. And because we know, and like the way the team has been executing nonstop is just shows you they're hard at work and they're trying to make their dreams a reality, and they're trying to connect to everybody, and they're trying to utilize this technology for the most useful use cases of any kind of space company right now in the world. Because what else can be more useful than having connection everywhere and a technology that can track anything under it? Those two combined, it's like, what other tech has a use cases that is can be that important to humanity and mankind? Not many. And I think like all this combined, just the catalyst, like the little news after little news, has just led to a lot of shorts covering, because people were hoping that, oh, we might get a launch delay. This thing's going down to 15. It just went from $2 to $40, and it's just kind of stair walking back down. So they were just shorts were piling on for a long time here, and just hoping and just driving the price down and just hoping that we would see more delays, something would go wrong, and it would send us down lower where they can make money. They were thinking this was at $2 a year ago. Why is it even at 20 still? This is a speculative stock. They make no revenue at surface level. It could be a great short if you don't look into it in our partnerships. So I think a lot of them had to cover. And the thing is, a lot of them still aren't covered. And I think personally that a lot of these people that are short are going to be doubling down. Because if they were short at 22, they see it at 45. Do they dollar cost their shorts? So their short price is like 30s? Probably. And then what happens when some more news comes out, or just the wave kind of keeps continuing? Like I even saw on Wall Street Bets this morning, there's like 20 posts of people posting profits on this. Does make me a little worried, but it does show you that people are picking up on this. So now we're going to kind of cover kind of what's coming next for AST and kind of where we think the stock is headed. So next up, we have these satellite launches that are lining up. And the thing with the launches now is kind of like after our last management meeting is we know that directly that these launches lead to more revenue opportunities. Like the writing was literally in the wall there from our CFO saying, yeah, the more of these that are up, the more money that will come in because the more coverage and the more places we can provide the service, the more revenue opportunities that there are. So we have first Bluebird FM1 satellite launching in July. There has been no changes to this as far as I'm aware yet. And another month delay or so won't really hurt us. We are supposed to launch in May. And it's only one at the end of the day. So it will be nice once it's up there and they are testing and they're testing these new block satellites and we see those results. So the sooner this one's up, the kind of more cannons it is to start more eyes opening to this and saying, wow, that's impressive, because I assume these ones will have higher speeds and just better tech overall. And the more of these we get up, we have some with SpaceX coming up too, where we don't really have concrete dates yet. But it just shows you, like Abel said, we're going to be getting these up every month or two. Like once this one starts here, so like we'll have one in July, then we can expect one in August or September. Then after that, 2 months after that, November, December, and it's just going to be a lot of fun to seeing these get launched up there. And every time we do see another Bluebird deployed, it's just another revenue opportunity that we're seeing. And once like Blue Origin does have their new Glen rocket ready to go with these, they're going to be launching 8 at a time. So like in my mind, that's kind of the key right now to billions of revenue, because once they're launching 8 at a time, and like Abel and Bezos, if they form any partnership at all, especially just with us being kind of their first like big customer, is that this is a win-win for both of us, because they're getting their first big revenue and we're getting these things up at a record speed. So like once we start launching 8 at a time, and if we can launch with them every 2 to 3 months, we're just going to be getting more coverage everywhere. And then from there, it kind of leads to like when the beta testing will be rolling out. And some people think that could happen as late as, or as early as like the end of 2025 or early 2026. So once they do have the beta, and people are making, like people do tech reviews. I've seen the Starlink ones where they don't really work with texting. And so once people are out there making videos in the mountains, watching Netflix on their cell phone connected to one of these satellites, it's just going to like prove how good this tech is. And it's going to gain a lot of market trust seeing just someone's, because it's different like when the customers or the CEOs of these big brands do it. We know it's legit, but like some people be like, oh, they're just faking that. Like they're pretending, whatever. Like obviously that's not true. But like once you have this in someone's hand, that's obviously not with the company or the MNOs, and just testing this in a real life experience. Once you see that and people doing that, it's just going to be huge for market trust. And I think that can even, that's going to drive us, like that's going to be the next thing. Like besides the launches, yeah, the launches are great, but they don't lead to like direct revenue. So once the beta does come and people see this, it's like, okay, the tech is here. It's no longer 5 satellites up there that the company is testing or the government's using. This is real, it's hardwired tech that works. And then like successful tests like that might even unlock more MNOs. Like imagine T-Mobile, they're testing Starlink. They're trying to send a text, they send 10 texts, maybe one sends 5 minutes later. One of them gets their hands on an AST satellite with another MNO on their phone, they're texting and video calling and it's sending like that. You don't think something's going to switch there? Saying, wow, this tech works flawlessly. Why would we go with this less tech? Because once this does work and once it is in beta, Vodafone, AT&T, and Verizon are going to be marketing the hell out of this thing. They're going to be showing, yeah, we're one of the first wireless carriers that truly has high speed everywhere. We are one of the MNOs that can provide anywhere you are in this country, eventually world. You can watch Netflix or whatever you want, make video calls and text anywhere. Like, that's going to be such a big marketing standpoint right there, because as you see, like, their commercials now, they're like, oh, we're the most connected, we have the most service anywhere. But once they truly do have that, it's just going to be marketing galore. And T-Mobile doesn't want to fall behind, because they'll see they won't be able to advertise the same things Verizon, AT&T does, because at the end of the day, the tech doesn't reliably work. And like, I haven't seen Starlink streaming things or making video calls reliably. So it's just going to be a big kind of difference there between these ones that are providing high speed everywhere. Then T-Mobile will start to fall behind, because why not make the switch? If you're on T-Mobile and you want to have reliable service everywhere you go, if you go camping a lot, like I go camping a lot, I want service, because in case anything happens, I want to contact people. If I want to play a song or something while I'm out there, I'm going to choose one that will have my back, not one that might work. Like, at the bottom of T-Mobile's ads, it's like emergency services are not guaranteed to work on this, because they want to cover themselves. And at the end of the day, who is most reliable will be the winner. So I won't be surprised if they make the switch. We can hope. And another thing coming soon, very soon, so the Ligado Spectral deal closing. And as we're seeing estimates that this spectrum is worth $10 to $30 billion, and the market cap here is 15. And like, we saw the other day when the term sheet came out that this thing like went skyrocketing like 10% in like a second. So like, once this deal is handshaken and closed, I think the market will start to fully price this thing in. And I still think at this point it may not be, because people will look at, oh, they're bankrupt. What if something goes wrong here with the deal? Like, there's probably people shorting for that reason. Oh, it keeps getting delayed, something's up, let's hope it falls through. But once this deal is signed, I think that's just another opportunity. Especially when the PR comes out with this, showing what it's worth, it's just going to be massive. And now, one other kind of thing that we do expect to be coming is Verizon DA, or like a FirstNet potential DA. And a kind of a definitive agreement just strengthens our ties with the top two telecom companies here in the US. And like, a definitive agreement, especially when we're locked in for years, just shows you like they're confident in this tech and they're not going anywhere. They're going to be using this for their customer base for a long time. And once that does happen, it'll show like 2 out of 3 of these major MNOs are aligned and linked with ASTS, locked in agreements for years that they can't leave. And that's 2 out of 3 right there. That might even lead T-Mobile to make the switch. Like, they will obviously see why this technology is superior, and then maybe want to join along. And it just adds credibility and investor confidence when you have $100 billion company like Verizon sign a long-term deal with us that's locked in place to use our service. That just shows you, oh, this company's undervalued. Why are these $100 billion of companies signing these long-term deals here? It's because we have tech that will change the world. And then if we do kind of secure one with FirstNet DA, I'm not sure how that's going to be announced, because it could be something through AT&T as well, because their partnership. But that just kind of solidifies our leadership in the emergency response tech. And emergency tech, like as we're seeing in Singapore kind of hop on here, is that we're seeing people be confident in this tech and they want it for first responders and emergency response, because you need service everywhere. And then with the Golden Dome heating up now and them already using our tech for stuff like this, it's like, this just opens up so much more money, especially that we already secured a contract with them. Is that we will get like, if we do get Golden Dome contracts, we will get like instant revenue and credibility overnight, like bump. Wow, US and Trump is using AST for the Golden Dome. Like, could you imagine what that's going to do? Especially with like $100 billion or 25 billion in the first bill, but Trump said 100 something billion total for this thing. And like one of the main components of this is the missile tracking. So once that opens up like that, it's going to be crazy. And we do think some bank coverage and upgrades are coming as we see as this goes up, like Zacks, B. Riley. They're upgrading this thing as it goes up. So as it goes up, like they're just going to upgrade more and more and more. And this will probably lead eventually to like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, other companies and funds doing research on us, and because they want to be in before the boat's too late. And initiating research is a great way to get involved with the stock, and credibility will help grow with this, and broader analyst coverage can lead to just more buying pressure, because as you like, if you follow any stocks, a lot of times they get an upgrade pre-market, bam, it bumps, because you're seeing these big banks and big money say, this is what I believe this is worth. So kind of what's next for the stock? It's holding above 40 right now, which is just very bullish technical signal, because being stuck in the 20s, like barely breaking 30s, but the fact that it just poofed through the 30s is just massive. And it really does seem like the market is re-rating us and reevaluating us based on everything that we've seen here, like the beta testing, the Ligado transaction, these MNO partnerships, index exclusions. And it just seems like we were under the radar for a while, whether it was purpose or not. But now people and institutions, like institution holding is almost at the highest it's ever been right now. So it seems like they're waking up because they don't want to miss out on the next big thing. And I think as momentum grows, this is going to continue. And a lot of people like us that do the hard research in this still see this thing as undervalued. When you look at projections for 2028 and beyond, it's like, wow, this is a steal right now. So if this execution continues and these catalysts keep winding up, I think there's a lot more upside ahead. I'm just going to throw out a number just so I can relate back to it. I'll say in September, it'll be a $60 stock. We'll see. Sometimes these big pop-ups do have fallbacks, but I think with launches and a Verizon DA tied in there and the momentum building right now and institutions waking up to this, it's going to be game over. So thank you guys once again for tuning in. Always love covering the stock. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Leave your comments. Always happy to answer your questions. And thank you, Space Soldiers. We'll see you again next week.